Well, hello everyone. We have right here. I'm talking about for making a responsibility simple right here. And a lot of times it sure seems that way that when we do speak about responsibilities, though, that it seems like that that's really it's pretty much it's basically saying is toward that somebody is leaving you in charge of putting together the information and keeping track of the information based on if it's maybe a ticket or any source of form, maybe about this size right here that contain the information, right? And like everybody might say that, do you think that most parents would leave you in charge of that to where all you really have to do is just answer a few simple, questions right here just to be able to help them understand about what the problem was and what the situation is, right? And so really, that how many of us really want that type of priority? And like everybody might say that really not everybody really that if you answer a few simple questions and all that, make a few rules and a few guidelines, and so you're warned to where that when we do talk about make it simple right here, and it's like so it's like so every time you have conversations with mom and dad both right here that the first thing it probably would start out with is as to where if you gotten tickets to go on the game, maybe if it's the field trip or something like that, to go to the Super Bowl game or somewhere like that, and you think as toward it, that when we do talk about responsibilities here, that parents would say that responsibilities start by keeping track of the most important things. Make it simple. So I guess your job would be is to make it simple for other people to understand the details about tickets to go to the basketball game or something like that, or what what are the rules about this, or what do you need to do, what the next steps are, such and such. But I have right here is this right here talk about for once orders and requests right here, and like cash prizes, but still it's like whenever you do think about that, and you're 102 that hey, that the simple facts are is that that you're trying to make it easy and simple for somebody else to understand, and so really that every time you do think about that, and you're always 102 that it seems like us toward that. You start out the conversation by saying is to where make it simple, to where only you understand at first. So really, what does that mean? In case of anybody's 102, what does all that mean? And a lot of times it seems like that's pretty much how responsibilities start. You start a conversation, and let's just say somebody's going to ask the question, make it simple. Only at first before the other. And so I'll put on here, before the other. And let's just say if the sentences were to start out with it that way, and maybe if you want to go ahead and put on there a quote or something like that. But still, it's like almost every time you think about a conversation, a lot of times, a responsibility, right? And you're always 102 that all the details right there, right? And everybody might say that one responsibility that you get a lot of times would be is toward you go ahead and start a conversation with both mommy and daddy right here, but then they're going to be asking the questions, right? And what they want you to do is to give them a few simple responses, and so it sure seems that way that, everybody might say that, if you gotten tickets to go to the basketball game for sure, that why do you think that would be a responsibility? Or like, somebody has an idea about something, or that, they have time, to listen and, to listen and of course to hear what you got to say about something like that. But still, that when we do talk about simple facts and rules right here, it seems like as to where that if we've all been in that situation to where that you go ahead and start out the conversation with mom and dad or anybody else, and like the parents would say that responsibilities start by keeping track something. Keeping organized and keeping things clean, and then about following the directions, stuff like that. But let's just say if one of those responsibilities would be is toward it, make it simple. Only at first about the details about that basketball game. Only at first before you go ahead and pass that information off to somebody else or something like that. So it's like, all about sharing information, right? And that's why it seems like that. You get into conversations with somebody, and it's like, really, where does it all start? Necessarily, and like everybody might say, that it all starts out with the question. And the way I think about too, if we've done the studies about typical psychology, it all starts out with the question, right? It all starts out with generating ideas, but mainly about a question. But really, if I say that the responsibility right here would be is toward it, you try to explain it to anybody who asks, to try to help them understand, understanding. And everybody might say that, hey, that, responsibility and clarity seems to start out with that. Instead of reading those details, 4 or 5 page documents or so, or letters or notes or anything, instead of reading all those letters about responsibility, that somebody's going to maybe say that, could you go ahead and explain in detail about, what you're talking about, and, something a little bit more simple than that to where I can understand. And so a lot of parents might say that, they didn't know at first until I'm like, so it's like, so every time you do think about that, and you're always 102, that you answer a few basic questions, just to be able to get a better understanding of something. But still, whose responsibility is it just to be able to provide the information, and whose responsibility is it? And what's another way of how to describe a responsibility? And that I have right here, talk about with a ticket. If you get a ticket to go to the basketball game, and you're always 102, that the first responsibility would be is toward that you do not lose this ticket. Keep track of the time, and that's your responsibility, is keeping track of all that, and you do not lose that information, and you remember to be there at 10 o'clock or something like that. So it's like keeping track of things, right? And so whenever you do think about that, and you're 102, that you think that maybe mom and dad would maybe say is toward, then why do you think that the mom and dad would get the simple equation about that, the simple facts to help them understand, but still that somebody like, they might even say too that responsibilities start by saying is to where the more information that you give out, the more it helps that the other person understand, right? And so it's like everybody might say that even if you do guess a situation or something like that, but still that everybody might say that when we do talk about responsibilities a lot of times, that you're always 102, that the best way of how to start with a responsibility would also be is to word it, to where, like everybody might say that, responsibilities are like rules, right? Whenever you do think about those rules, you're also thinking too that those rules, those rules are basically strict rules. They could also be rules that you would need to follow just for safety reasons, and also whenever it comes to handling things. And so that's why it seems like that people might say that it all starts out with a few questions and getting a better understanding and explaining about that, right? But anyway, really, well, what's the best way how to respond to that? And like everybody might say that most people would say that try to get the situation under control, but at the same time, that knowing about, a responsible, a way to keep track of responsibility would also be is toward it, talking to somebody, I'm like, who's the coach? I'm like, like a coach or a manager or anybody like that. But like everybody might say that, do you think that if anything, that you go ahead and ask a few basic questions, and that would be your job, is to go ahead and explain, and help the person understand a little bit more, and trying to get some clarification going, and like everybody might say that's usually, that usually helps whenever you do that, right? Is trying to get some clarification going, trying to explain somebody, about clarification, right? And so it sure seems that way that when we do talk about a few basic questions right here to help the other person understand. And it sure seems that way that when we do talk about explaining, right? And it's like, you go ahead and explain the details there, but still that. So it sure seems that way that everybody might even say too that tickets to go to the game and everything, but you also maybe want to know too that if you're going to be writing a letter to somebody for sure, and want to know too that you talk about on that letter, that that letter would also be about is toward it that letter is going to start out with I'll be back at 10 o'clock or something like that, but still. But anyway, if I talk about for the simple questions, I talk about for a better understanding, right? The simple facts. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone.